Ohio State has produced some of the great wide receivers in recent college football memory. Who will be the next one? Well, we have some great experience and talent moving on to the NFL in Michael Thomas and Jalen Marshall, who's going to fill the gap. We bring in Joe Dexter. You can catch him on Script Ohio v. Sporto's Buckeye Sports Radio and from the Buckeye Battle Cry. Joe, we appreciate the time. Let's sort this thing out because we know that Noah Brown was probably going to get significant time last year. He broke his leg. And if you just watch the games and don't really dig into the recruiting, you know that Michael Thomas is gone, Jalen Marshall, and who in the heck is going to play wide receiver at Ohio State? I know that there's a lot of talent there, but very unproven.
There's a lot of redemption, too, in this story at wide receiver. You mentioned Noah Brown coming back from a broken leg, a 6-year of eligibility for Corey Smith looking to come back from the same injury. 2 guys looking to come back from the same major injury. It's going to be more than likely that somebody's going to have to step up in those guys' roles, but those are the guys that you look to as leaders, not just as big play receivers, not just as pass catchers, but these are guys that know how to block on the edge scheme that Urban Meyer likes to run. And that's really, really imperative when it comes to running the read option offense. Having guys like that and Curtis Samuel, who might move back to that role in 2016, his role is a little bit under. We don't know what that's going to be at this point, but you also have Johnny Dixon, who's looking to bounce back from knee injuries and is a big play guy, and a lot of young guys like KJ Hill, Austin Mack, trying to find their role. And heck, maybe even a senior like Dontre Wilson fills in as a wide receiver. There's so many questions right now at that position that will sort themselves out through time. The one thing we do know, though, is that Ohio State has a lot of skill at that position. One of the best position coaches in Zach Smith, and a developing group that, with a bunch of hodgepodge guys last year, were able to figure things out.
Yeah, Dontre Wilson. What happened to Dontre Wilson? No carries from the backfield last year. He did catch 7 passes. We know that injuries did factor in, but here's a guy that was much ballyhooed coming out of Texas. He had 100-plus touches in 14 and 15 combined. He's kind of fallen off. Got to get back into the good graces. You mentioned Austin Mack out of Indiana, a top 30 recruited wide receiver in this 2016 class. Benjamin Victor out of Florida, top 45 player at his position in 2016. Demario McCall, I don't know if you're getting a read on where they might fit him eventually. He came out as a running back, but there are thoughts about him possibly playing wide receiver. Torrance Gibson, quarterback, wideout. What is he?
There's so
all
many
sorts of
questions.
stuff there, Joe.
So many questions. And touching on Dontre Wilson just a little bit to give perspective of how big of a recruit this is. We're talking the class of 2013. That's J.T. Barrett, Ezekiel Elliott, Joey Bosa, Darren Lee, Eli Apple. He was the prized possession of that class of 2013, the top recruit out of DeSoto, Texas. And from that point to fans, he became Dance Dontre, and not a guy that could develop into either a running back, H-back, or wide receiver. Now he's put on some poundage. He's put on some muscle. He's at about 250 pounds of last measure. So I think we might see him more at that H-back position in more of a role where he's not trying to be a speedster and a guy that jukes around to try and make plays. At the wide receiver position, though, inside the slot, you've got some guys that are very talented. Austin Mack, to me, is a kid that could be the best receiver on the team next year as a freshman coming in from Indiana and really taking that position and role seriously and being a guy that you look to. And Torrance Gibson as a playmaker might be the guy that stretches the field as a former quarterback. Man, the combination of him and Joe Burrow in the spring game, watching those guys make plays was unbelievable. Torrance Gibson has the athletic ability to be that guy. We'll see if he steps into that role. And with the veteran mix of Noah Brown and Corey Smith, I think you have all the tools you need at wide receiver to be able to be dangerous. And the key factor, we touched on it in the quarterback preview, J.T. Barrett is a type of quarterback that can lead these guys and put them in places to have success. We saw it last year with a group of wide receivers that included a former quarterback. And when he was able to get involved, he was able to do so. So I think this group is going to be a special one, especially down the road 3 years from now when we're talking about them possibly in the NFL draft or with their careers over. A lot of young guys mixed with a lot of veterans, guys that can all fill different roles as well.
And if you're looking for results, meaning winning games, Big Ten games, getting to championship games, fortunately for this group and working out rapport and chemistry with JT Barrett, Oklahoma is week 3, big week 1 matchups, and maybe they can gain some rapport and get things going by their trip to Norman in week 3, Joe.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be the part of the season where development has to turn into results for this receiving core, and JT Barrett has to have somebody that he can depend on. If we're talking receivers, the interesting part of 2016 will be Marcus Baugh at tight end. Now, Ohio State has had 2 guys go in the NFL draft the last 2 years in Jeff Hireman and Nick Van Ette, but they have not been big parts of the passing offense. Marcus Baugh had, I believe, 9 catches in the spring game and is a guy to watch for JT Barrett as maybe a guy that he depends on.
Yeah, Baugh is a guy that we've known about for quite some time. Redshirt junior, only caught 2 passes last year, but he's been around the offense for quite some time. Ramos Alexander, a player out of Virginia in the 2015 class, a top 50 wide receiver. KJ Hill out of Arkansas, top 15 receiver in that same 15 class. A lot of names to remember. We'll see how it sorts out, but definitely Corey Smith, Noah Brown will probably lead this receiving unit. Joe Dexter from Buckeye Battle Cry and also catches podcast Script Ohio on V Sporto's Buckeyes Sports Radio. We appreciate it, Joe. The great breakdown you give us here.
Thanks, Mark.